3, 2, 1. It should be recording. Well, hello and welcome everybody to the excuse me, the 28th episode of Hell in a Handbasket. One sec. Jesus Christ. Okay. So we had some discussion about what it is that we're right, what it is that we're going to be discussing today, what it is that we're going to be talking about. And so what we decided to do is we decided to hit upon a bunch of the news that's been going around in the world, just like not instead of focusing on one specific topic, go through some of the stuff that's happening, because there is some stuff that's been happening. There's the news is actually a buzz. It's almost like it's weird because like for a second it seemed like there was like a little bit of a lull, and then like there's a shit ton of stuff going on. So the major stories that I had in mind that I would want to talk about were, of course, the Nepal, the turmoil that's going on there right now. People are getting killed. High-end politicians are getting killed. Houses are getting torched. People are up in arms. Nepal is going crazy. Then, of course, there's news about. There's always news in Ukraine, and there's also news about cartels being going over to Ukraine to fight for. I guess that's another Ukraine story in a way. Going to cartels to learn how to use drones, to learn how to fight modern drone warfare. So it's pretty crazy, but I guess who didn't see this coming? Who couldn't have guessed that this was going to happen? So anyway, were there any stories on your mind, Nunya, before we start to go through my short list?
No, let's do these. Like I know very little about this attack. I read the headline this afternoon, but I was too busy at work to really delve into it. So yeah, this is all pretty fresh to me. So yeah, let's do it.
All right. So what happened was, let's see, where can I get my, I gotta full screen my thing. Okay, here we go. Nope. Here we go. All right. So I guess, well, I should pull up maybe Al Jazeera's story, because Al Jazeera is kind of like, yeah. All right. Israel attacks Hamas leadership in Qatar. All to know. Al Jazeera is going to tell you everything that there is to know, not just what you need to know, all that there is to know about this story. All right. Israel on Tuesday struck Qatar's capital, Doha, and missile attacks that it said were targeted at senior leaders of Hamas, including negotiators from the Palestinian group who had been engaged in talks aimed at securing a ceasefire in Gaza. Bingo. So this is the big thing, right? So what do? They bombed Qatar to hit Palestinian delegation that was discussing ceasefire, right? Which obviously Israel does not want to see a ceasefire. Qatar condemned the attack as a violation of international law and its sovereignty, with multiple countries and blocs also lashing out at Israel over the missile strikes. It's crazy, dude. Israel has done this before. Remember when they attacked, what was it, Iran's delegation in their embassy, I think in Syria, I think it was. So this is crazy. Israel is a freaking rogue state. Look at this crazy shit that they do.
Well, there seems to be a growing trend of going after peace negotiators. So in this case, they're going after the peace negotiators from the Palestinian side who are specifically there to talk about a peace deal. And, you know, that would never happen in the past. And I'm also reminded of in Ukraine, right? They actually killed their own peace negotiator who was there, all right, back in 2022, I believe.
Yeah, that's crazy. Right? I remember that story.
It used to be that, you know, the diplomats and people like that, the people doing the actual face-to-face work, they were always deemed off limits, right?
Yeah, like don't even shoot the messenger.
Well, yeah, like even, you know, people like Al-Qaeda could figure that out. Right. Yet it just seems to be like there seems to be a growing trend that we should probably keep our eyes on.
It seems like Israel in particular does this crazy shit more. Like they're doing this. They're like, you know, like, so you're like this tiny little state, you know, that was artificially propped up from like with outsider help, you know, in this in this neighborhood. You're trying to do everything you can to not allow Iran, you know, who's the regional hegemon to be, you know, to rise up and actually ascend to the throne that is probably rightfully theirs. You're trying to do everything you can to target them. Uh, so, and in this in the process of doing that, you are also pissing off everybody else. Okay, Syria, Syria was was weak, and in order to take down Syria, they had the Americans help them for decades, for a decade, and then also had help from Turkey. It was in the middle of a time when Syria's allies like Russia were tied up somewhere else. Okay, Syria, target of opportunity alone. Okay, but like bombing Qatar, like Qatar is already a poodle, right? So I mean, in that way, Qatar is not really going to be able to do anything. But that is crazy behavior. You guys keep doing this shit. Why would you be surprised if once your neighbors get up off their knees and, you know, become bigger and taller and stronger, that they're not going to beat up on you now because you earned it through this crazy shit that you're doing? Like, come on. You're
Well,
bombing your friends.
I don't think they care, right? Because they never have.
Well,
So, you know, why
it's
start now?
I mean, it's just like, obviously there'll be a price to pay for this crazy behavior. It
Well,
just
you can't tell me that the U.S. didn't know
blowback.
about it, right? You can't tell me that the U.S. didn't know about it. So, you know, they
I
allowed
mean,
it to
I
happen.
didn't even think about that. I didn't think about that angle, but do you think that the U.S.
Oh, for
was?
sure. For sure. And I'll bet you that whatever puppet they have over in Qatar, I bet you he knew about it too. Like, you know, this is just theater. You know, they were looking to kill some
How are you
Hamas
more
guys.
cynical than I am, dude? I'm the Russian,
I,
and somehow you out
I'm
cynicism
older.
me.
I'm
Okay, yeah.
older and I'm angrier. Okay. So,
I'm still young and wild eyed. I'm like, oh my
yes.
gosh, there's hopes. Then just like,
Now,
okay.
eventually you get to a point where you're just like, fuck, man, this is as good as it's going to get. I'm not getting any younger. I'm not getting any smarter. I'm not getting any handsomer. I'm not getting anything. I've plateaued and now I'm just going to enjoy the decline down. So that's where I'm kind of heading
Well, I
to.
don't
So
know.
I'm
For me,
actually looking forward to it.
so here's
So
what it looks like from my perspective. It's like you've plateaued, but you plateaued at like an easy, like imagine like an easy like flying porch, you know, that you could have like tea time. I mean, Canadians do tea time. I guess if it's none, you're probably on a hammock smoking weed, and just kind of like looking around, enjoying the decline. Like, look at all this shit that's happening. Wow.
effectively, yeah. Like, you know, it's like at what point do you just laugh and say, oh,
Well, that's the name of this podcast, right? We're just sitting watching the world go to hell in a handbasket.
that's
Um,
pretty much where I'm at. Yeah. So it's kind of like you can only get so like, dude, I've lost all my friends, okay, because they all think that I'm some sort of conspiracy theorist or whatever. When absolutely everything I kind of predict happens. You
uh-huh.
know, I'm just years ahead of these idiots, kind of thing. And I'm sure you're the
Well,
same. Like, I'm at the point now where it's like this is who I am. These are what my beliefs are. These are what my values are. And you know, if that makes me this, that, or indifferent, fine, right?
uh-huh.
You know, and like I said, I'm looking forward to that stage of my, you know, the just old curmudgeon. You know, I'm looking forward to it
Yeah.
because
I
you
mean,
know,
you won't be able to old curmudgeon as hard as the old curmudgeons do today, but you'll still. I feel like you'll get a good curmudgeon going for sure.
yeah, no, I hope so. We'll see, but
I don't know.
you know,
I
yeah,
don't think you're like. I don't think you're like rocking chair on porch with shotgun level. You know, but more like I don't know, the
just give me my
suburban.
hammock. That's all.
Yeah.
My hammock in the backyard, and I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not much for people anymore. You know, I kind of
Yeah,
lost
I
my faith
mean,
in humanity
well, I
in
mean,
general.
I think that most people figure this out pretty early on. Like, well, people suck.
Yeah.
But you know what they say. That's why you don't choose your family, but you do get to choose your friends. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like your friends are like little bitches. We're little bitches. And
Well, like everybody's got a story like that because,
I think
if
over
you
COVID, a lot of people lost friends, and over Trump, a lot of
absolutely,
people lost friends.
yeah, and lost it over, the woke shit or lost it. Like, man, I lost so many friends because, I just can't ignore nonsense, right? And I feel that in a lot of ways, it's my duty to inform people because, frankly, our media quit doing their job a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
Um, and, you know, a lot of people, they don't want to hear it because they want to live in their little cocoon of comfort. And as long as they, have everything that they want, material wealth, whatever, they have a good life, and all that stuff. As long as that isn't interrupted, they don't care that, the world around them is burning quickly, right?
Yeah.
And these are the
First of
people
all, the
who,
boomers, I think, are oftentimes the boomers who are the worst about this. They had the really this attitude of like, "Fuck you! I actually deserve what I earned." It's like I remember growing up, it was like drilled into every elementary school child's head. There's no such thing as a free lunch, you know. And when I was a kid, I always thought like, "Oh, and that means that you always have to work for your lunch, right?" And then like a little bit, I got a little bit older, and just thinking about that, I was just like, "Well, there's no such thing as a free lunch." Wait, that sounds like brainwashing. They're freaking telling you that people who have a lunch, you can't be offended. They earned that lunch because there's no such thing as a free lunch. So if that politician over there is like eating your freaking lunch for free, nah, you already know there's no such thing as a free lunch. So it's like I feel like we had sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. I looked up at the screen and I read what happened in Qatar, and my mind just went.
you were
We were
talking about a free lunch and how when you were growing up, that was like the catchphrase that
right
you were,
before that. Right before that, I was going to tie that into what we were talking about.
uh, I don't even remember what we were talking about now. I guess it
Fuck.
doesn't matter.
I
But
guess yeah, okay. We are okay. Let's
well,
continue. Let's continue what we were
I
talking
guess
about.
in summary, it's like, eventually once you, kind of figure out exactly to what we're talking about now, once you've come to the realization that your whole life has been a lie and your whole value system, your whole viewpoint of the world and all that stuff, once you realize that that's all been fed to you through the schools that Bradley was just talking about, and through the propaganda and through the Hollywood movies.
Mm-hmm.
And once you
The
start to
video
piece all of
games.
that, yeah, you start to piece it all together and you realize, holy shit, we're actually the bad guys, right? We are the bad guys. And that's why the world hates us. And that's why the world is rebelling against us. Because for the first time in a long time, they've actually got the power to do so, And that's where we're at this point in the world. And,
But the propaganda is really effective though, because most people think that we
absolutely.
are the good guys.
But
So
these are the
and
same
people believe
people.
this. They
Yeah. And
actually believe this, and there's a
these are the
subset like
same
you.
people who are going to lose everything. And these are the same people who, unless they start to wake up, they're going to end up with nothing because they're not going to have jobs anymore. Those are gone. They're not going to have any money anymore. The bankers are going to take all that. And then what are they going to be left with? A mortgage they can't afford in an economy that's crumbling. And that's what's going to happen. Like, we're going to see a depression, not even a recession. I think it's going to be a depression. I think this is going to be a big one. And we're just gearing up for it. Like, you're starting to see the signs everywhere now. Like, just today, they downgraded last year's jobs report by 991,000, I think.
Oh my gosh, I was reading
Uh,
that.
So yeah, like that's a pretty big reduction from what you had previously reported. And then you look at the job numbers that came out the week before. They expected, I think it was 75,000 jobs, and they only got 22,000 or something. Like all the signs are pointing to recession, recession, recession. And I think that that's going to lead to depression because, I've always said this, it's a game of math. And this is just resources being like channeled all around the world. And once you lose access to those resources, or those resources become more expensive, then your economy is going to feel it right away. And you see that in Germany now, right? Germany's been crumbling for 3 years because their supply of cheap Russian gas was shut off overnight and replaced with shitty LNG. So, and then you also see it now in France, who all of a sudden, oh, we're going to go bankrupt and we need an IMF bailout loan. Now, that also coincides with all of these African countries kicking them out over the last, several years. So, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that maybe there was a connection there, in places like Algeria or places like Mali or Niger or Burkina Faso, all these guys that kicked them out, they were looting their resources, uranium, you name it, for decades. So I don't know. I tend to think that there's probably a correlation there somewhere that, all of a sudden they're talking about France being bankrupt. What's changed, really, So, it's all not looking good, to be honest. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
there it is there.
Yep. So monthly change in jobs. But okay,
Yeah,
so
guys, we're the bad guys, and
so I
whatever
think that's for
cliche you
when
want to
you
make.
say that, for what, there's a little bit of like, for people it's hard to understand that. Maybe you got to say that the guys that are in charge are the bad guys. They're screwing others in the world just as hard as they're screwing you. They're screwing them harder, and they're screwing them in your name. And
Yeah,
yeah. But okay,
yeah,
so let's see what happened in Qatar. On Tuesday, around 3 p.m. local time, multiple explosions heard in the capital of Doha. Dark plumes of smoke rose above the skyline. People reported hearing explosions in neighborhoods across Doha. They were also audible at Al Jazeera office today. Al Jazeera's office in the city. Soon after 4 p.m. local time, Israel's military confirmed that it had fired missiles into Doha, targeting a compound believed to be housing Hamas political leaders. Believed to be housing. They weren't even sure. Shortly after, Qatar's foreign ministry issued a statement condemning the attack. Of course, this is the first time ever that Israel has attacked Qatar, a country where its own negotiators have visited repeatedly over the past 2 years for ceasefire talks mediated by this government in Doha. Exactly. What if Iran hit Qatar to hit an Israeli, to take out Benjamin Netanyahu? What would happen? What would
yeah,
happen? Like, this is the level of the shit that they pull. This is what I'm saying. Like, what are you guys doing? Come on,
yeah. But
come
like I
on.
was saying, like I don't even care who the leader of Qatar is, but whichever sheik or king or whatever he's called, I'm sure he knew about it. But what's he gonna do? Right?
Isn't
He's
he
got
like
the U.S. Army
British?
right there. Yeah, yeah. He's like half British or something,
Yeah.
and he speaks very formally. I know that. But so what's he going to do? He probably knew. I no doubt the U.S. knew. So what is it? It is what it is. They tried to kill some Hamas guys. That's what it was.
A Hamas official told
Because
Al Jazeera the attack targeted Hamas ceasefire negotiators. The attack came as negotiators from Hamas were meeting to consider the latest ceasefire proposal put forth by the United
right,
States. What does that say about the United States? Think about this. We're making
but
negotiations with Kim Jong Un. Meanwhile, we're freaking killing North Korean fishermen. We're making negotiations with Iran. Meanwhile, we're planning an Israeli strike on them. We're making negotiations with Hamas is here to consider our ceasefire negotiations, like our ceasefire proposal. Oh, well, would you look at that? They get hit again. Oh my gosh, like what?
oh yeah, I wouldn't agree to meet any U.S. negotiator over anything, be it a
And then they
trade deal
wonder
or
why
anything. I'd be
Vladimir
like, no,
Putin.
screw that. Not
Everybody's
going
like,
there.
Why is Vladimir Putin bombing the Ukrainians while these negotiations are going on? Are you kidding me? Have you seen your negotiations process? You think Vladimir Putin doesn't see this either? This is in the news. This is just in the like. I don't have to. You don't have to have super secret, top secret sources to be able to be like, hey, dude, I don't know about the Americans. So, like Sergei Lavrov said, I don't know how many years ago, about talking about the non-agreement capability of the Americans in the realm of diplomacy. And yeah, what is this? What is the shit? Our negotiations are, it's almost like what is that comic book? What is it? Not is it Snoopy? The one with the chick that holds the football and fools Charlie Brown every time. Charlie Brown, whatever, right? So Lucy, okay. Lucy freaking constantly fools. It's like that's what we are. We're like being Lucy. We're like, here, negotiations. So yeah, when the Russians are like, yeah, we're not taking the bait, we're throwing a bitch fit. What is that? Okay,
well, I mean, this line right here says it all from Bibi, where he says, today's action was wholly independent Israeli operation. Israel initiated it, Israel conducted it, and Israel takes full responsibility. Well, that tells you right there that he didn't, and they didn't, right? So, yeah,
right away,
of course they were all in on it.
Definitely, we're in on it. That line alone, this seals the deal. This
of course
tells me right here.
So yeah, of course the King guy, the U.S., yeah, they all were in on it.
And you know what? That's how Trump has been. That's been Trump's attitude in like a lot of the Republicans and by and large, just like take them all out. Yeah, sure, bomb them, kind of like that. You know, you've seen this cavalier, callous attitude. How have the wait? What did Hamas say? Whatever. No. Palestinian authorities. This will have dangerous implications. Okay. Israeli attack on Doha represents a turning point that will have dangerous implications for the Middle East. Yeah, will it? I don't know. This operation is against Qatar, which is leading the mediation efforts, and against the Hamas leadership that is discussing the American proposal. Is there a worse shamelessness? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, exactly. How has Qatar reacted? Criminal attack constitutes flagrant violation of all international laws and norms, serious threat to the security and safety of Qataris and the residents of Qatar. Did you bomb them back?
Yeah, what? So, while strongly condemning this attack,
State of Qatar affirms that it will not tolerate this reckless Israeli behavior in its continued tampering with regional security. Don't you dare do that again, or there will be consequences. That's what they're doing.
This was a nothing statement. Like you said, what are you doing about it? Are you going to shut down your embassy?
Yeah, investigations
right? Are you going to quit trading with them? Are you going to shut down your embassy? I'm sure they're supplying them with gas. Are you going to cut that? What are you actually going to do? You bunch of cowards, right? You just got bombed. Could have killed. We don't even know who's dead, but apparently none of the Hamas guys are dead. But last I saw, there was like 6 dead. And that was probably like the security forces or something, right?
Look at this.
But
Britain warned against further escalation of violence in the region and said that it had no prior knowledge of the attack.
Well, of course, then they did, right?
Don't you dare retaliate. Don't anybody dare do anything about this, or there will be consequences.
They had no prior knowledge of the attack. Okay, sure, yeah. I'm going to throw the UK into this mix. Yeah, they knew about it too. Right? Because they're all a bunch of liars. You know?
They're all a bunch of freaking liars.
So eventually the people in these little Gulf states are just going to get so fed up that they're just going to overthrow these, and you're just going to see heads rolling down the streets. That day is going to come, right? Like they're just going to get completely fed up. I could be wrong, right? Maybe they like having puppets as leaders, but I doubt I'm wrong. You know, I'm guessing most people there aren't living the wealthy life that you think.
I don't know what it is with the Middle East and like even just like honestly, specifically the larger Arab world and their inability to just get their shit together. You know, get your shit together. It's like the Turks have their shit more or less together. The Iranians have their shit together. Why can't you guys get your shit together? Like even the Israelis. I mean, it's hard to call that, you know, but they kind of got their shit together. So everybody except for you. Like, what is this? So no wonder. It's like everybody has a plan except for you, kind of, situation. What was I looking at B&E Intel News for? Yeah, Russia plans to double missile production to 2,500 missiles a year and increase drone output to 2,700 drones a month. I remember talking to Wayne in, I think it was in voice chat, and he was telling me that the Ukrainians are making so many drones, they're outproducing the Russians on drones. I'm like, are you kidding me? The Ukrainians are making drones in these underground little workshops. There's no way they can match the sheer industrial output of the Russians. And he's like, well, they're going to have this counter drone warfare stuff. I'm like, well, when are they going to have it? Well, soon. Well, okay, I mean, they plan to double this missile production here. I'm trying to see. Okay, since August, Ukraine has hit 50 Russian refineries, some of them repeatedly reducing Russia's oil production. Okay, Russia plans to manufacture close to 2,500 high-precision missiles in 2025 as part of an expanded weapons program that also includes significant increases in combat aircraft, tanks, and drones. Ukraine's military intelligence service said. This is Ukraine's military intelligence service. So basically, in 2025, this year, they're going to be producing this much. Holy crap. Where is this counter drone warfare program? It's nowhere to be seen. In fact,
What
all that this
what do they
is,
mean by high precision? Like what missiles are they actually producing? Did it say?
let me see.
Like, are they Kinzhal missiles? Are they a mixed
Let's
bag
see.
of?
I don't know. It does. I'm not reading it here. Yeah, it's not really saying it, but our personnel. So Russia's planned missile production is part of a broader military buildup that will see Russia producing 57 combat aircraft, including the Su-57, Su-35, Su-30, and 4 and Su-30 models by the end of 2025. So the Russians are seeing 57 new airplanes by the end of this year, and plans to manufacture 250 T-90M tanks, 1,100 BTR-3 and BTR-82A armored personnel carriers, and 365 artillery systems. So yeah, when they say that Russia is outproducing all of NATO, who was said this? Was it?
Hold on, time out. Unleash the leopards. Remember that?
Free the tigers. Yeah,
and they unleashed the leopards, and they gave them like 100 or something, or everybody was thrilled with that, and they all got destroyed within weeks.
Yeah. Russia also significantly scaling up drone production, of course, an adaptation of the Iranian-designed Shahed drone, the Giran, along with the Garbia, and a variety of first-person view drones. Skibitsky said development efforts are focused on improving range accuracy and warhead effectiveness. Initially, Russia was importing drones from Iran, but has since built new factories in its hinterland and also advanced the technology by improving on Iranian designs. Amongst other recent innovations, Russia recently introduced jet-propelled Giran drones that have a longer range and carry a larger payload, and they fly higher, and which makes them out of range of those like machine gun systems. So apparently Gepards have a hard time reaching these new jet-powered ones. And there's ones with stealth capability. Anyway, despite Western efforts to negotiate a halt to hostilities, Moscow has intensified its aerial attacks and launched a massive barrage against Kiev at the weekend, the biggest since the war began, deploying a record 810 drones against Ukrainian territory and hitting the Prime Minister's office for the first time. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on September 6th that since the beginning of the month, Russia had launched more than 1,300 strike drones, nearly 900 guided aerial bombs, and up to 50 missiles. So we can see that.
Who's she? Let's go back. Let's check out Chicky here.
Ukraine's Prime Minister Yulia Svidenko. Svidenko posted a selfie on social media to show the destruction of her office, which was hit by a Russian missile during the heaviest barrage of Kiev since the war started.
Well, look on the bright side. Now she has more time for selfies, right? So
yeah, right.
There is that. So
yeah,
she better get out of there because the big bad Russians are coming.
Well,
and
speaking of getting out of there, see if
she'll
I
be
can find.
involuntarily made sex with.
Jesus Christ, on you.
Ah.
Need. Trying to see if I can find. I don't know. I don't know where that story is. Whatever. Anyway, had Reuters up for a reason. This is definitely not the reason. Ukraine makes official request for a new IMF program. Yeah, of course. So what does this tell you about European aid? It's not incoming in sufficient numbers and sufficient quantities if they're asking for a new IMF program. And if they're
At
asking
what
for a new...
at
What?
what point does the IMF just go away? Right?
Uh,
Because like who really contributes to the IMF? It's mostly the US, right? I'm
I
pretty
mean,
sure.
with the IMF, I think that it's going to continue to be a useful tool. So it's probably never going to, it'll hobble along as long as it's going to be playing a role. I mean, it's one of the key instruments in the tool chain of regime change, and theft of resources, and opening of markets, quote unquote, all that kind of stuff. So I mean that they need a tool to do that. If it's not the IMF, what is it going to be? That's why they're like, remember when they threw a fit over China is doing this scheme to capture African and maybe even Latin American ports through their like version of an IMF loan program. They're so paranoid because that's kind of what they do with their IMF. So if they don't have it, they need something else. Ukraine has requested a new financing program from the International Monetary Fund as the war in Russia drags on, keeping military spending high. Prime Minister said on Tuesday, Ukraine is spending about 60% of its total budget to fund the war effort and relies heavily on financial support from its Western allies to cover the cost of pensions, public sector wages, and humanitarian spending. That is what our money is covering, that right there. Active hostilities continue, and a draft state budget for 26 has been prepared with the understanding that the war is far from over. Submitted an official letter requesting for a new loan program during the meeting in Kiev with Gavin Gray, the head of the fund's monitoring mission in Ukraine. So yeah, the next part in the chain of trying to take over whatever is going to be left of Ukraine after this war. And I've been reading certain articles about that too, where it's been like they're already openly discussing about what will be left, the Ukraine war, and Zelensky saying stuff like, "Oh, the Ukraine not losing all of its territory is Ukraine winning the war." When remember before they would be like, "Winning the war, we're taking Crimea back, Crimean beach party." Czech Republic and allies break up Belarus spy network across Europe. I don't know what to think about this one. I don't really have much to say about that
can
one.
we get back on the IMF one for a sec?
Yeah.
While you were talking, I just looked it up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically the IMF is funded by largely the G7, right?
Okay.
And because it's all based on percentage of GDP and stuff. So the US funds like 20% of it, and Germany's like 7, Japan's like 7. You do the math and you start to, Canada was like 2, and so it's largely by the G7.
It's a tool of colonial takeover of natural markets and resources of other nations and parts of the world. So I mean, it's going to be the guys that do that.
Because the way it looks like it's structured is they also get the primary share of the votes too, right? Whoever funds it. So the US is heavily influences all the IMF decisions, obviously, right? So I go back to the question, at what point does the IMF just go away? Because you're talking about when a government goes to, like when France, let's say, if they go for an IMF bailout, it's going to be hundreds of billions of euros, right? So all the other members of the IMF need to pony up their respective shares of that debt, assuming that it goes through and is lent to France, as an example. So at what point does the US say, geez, and that's just one loan, right? I'm just going to make up numbers, but let's say the IMF's annual kind of budget, for lack of a better word, is $500 billion, right? I don't know if it's anywhere near that, but let's say it's $500 billion. So at what point does the US say, you know what? We need that 100 billion elsewhere. And then Germany says we need that 6 billion or whatever elsewhere, or Japan elsewhere. So like, I don't know. I kind of think that some of these international arrangements as they have existed the last 80 years, like the IMF, like the World Bank, and so on and so forth, I think they're going to be in need for a serious rethink if they're going to remain a tool moving forward, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Well, the tool needs to be reforged, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just now go back to the Israel story for a second. Gaza aid flotilla
I saw
says
that.
boat struck by drone at Tunisian port. If this is the video, that why is this says? Like, why are you using that language? Why is it that the Gaza aid flotilla says? First of all, a flotilla speaks. Does a flotilla have an official flotilla spokesperson? Did you interview everybody on the flotilla? How can a flotilla say, right? But then we can see if something is getting struck if that's what they say it is. If this is what the news story says that this is,
That was
then I
Greta's
guess
boat too, eh?
was it Greta's boat? I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
gonna guess probably not. But could it be? Activist
No, it
groups seem to
was.
break his. It was.
I
Okay.
read that somewhere yesterday. Yeah, I think its members include, yeah, right there.
Greta Thunberg and the Irish actor Liam Cunningham. Ooh. Yeah, dude, this is crazy. Israel,
Oh, but
what are you
that's not
doing?
saying she was on the boat. But I read in other places that that was the one she was on. So I
Okay.
assume that's true. But because there was also a video going around on the boat when it got hit, and she
Okay.
was like her producer or something. So it made sense that, or they had some sort of relationship together. So it kind of made sense that they were both on the same boat. But yeah.
Okay. All right. So if that's true, then that's an even crazy detail to leave out by CNN. That's like a crazy thing. Like, hey, you know this person that we sang the praises of ages ago, and we tried to get you to like fall in love with an environmental activist. Well, you know what? Now that she's telling you to care about Gaza, you know, she was she could have died. Well, I don't know. But anyway, okay. Yeah, that's a pretty crazy story. Okay, Nepal. Before we hit on Nepal, yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah,
Banksy
that was a great one.
mural showing judge beating a protester to be removed from outside London court. Ow, right? Hurts, right? It's too on the nose, isn't it?
So that, you know what they did today? They covered it up and had two guards guarding it.
Wow,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, they
That's just
covered
a
it up.
legendary piece of artwork. Like, this is insanely cool.
Mm.
And it's insanely topical too. So anyway, let's go. Can I get rid of the picture? Like, okay. But yeah, I mean, I read that whole story, but I just thought that was insane. Like that, like, isn't Banksy like the most famous, probably British artist, modern British, like the graffiti like legend?
Yeah.
So they're like saying, screw our own culture, screw the best parts of our culture.
I'm telling you, man, the UK, like I was saying last time, the UK is like something different now, dude. Something absolutely different.
Well, I
So
mean,
yeah,
look at
place is
this. Like,
done.
you were there. Would you
Mhm.
say that this is the sentiment of the average UK citizen that you met? Like, that we're
Yes,
this screwed? See, it captures some kind of zeitgeist. Even I feel that. I'm like, yeah, dude, freaking that seems to me like what's happening to the average Brit over there.
I think the average Brit, in a lot of ways, is still in denial. Like they know that their life is getting exponentially worse, and it has over the last several years. But they really haven't connected the dots yet of why that's so. So, and the ones who, a lot of the country's still in denial, and then the other ones have moved on to anger, and they're the ones who are lashing out against the immigrants and every other old thing, right? Because they're just angry, and rightfully so. They have a right to be angry, not necessarily at the immigrants, but be angry at the government. They're all angry at the government. Like because they don't know what else to do. The angry people just need to be angry. The people in denial are still in denial. Very few are at, bargaining or acceptance. Some are still in bargaining. Like some are like, okay, maybe we can get back in the EU. Maybe we can, I don't know, come up with another wonder invention. Maybe we can, start colonizing again. Whatever the idea, some of them are probably doing that, and you got a handful of
Some of them
them.
are still coping. They're still in the
Yeah,
denial, coping
yeah.
hard stage.
And then you got some who are like, Galloway or Neil Oliver, who are more realists who know what's coming, right? And that's
But
it.
this is an
Yeah,
emotion, right? This right here, this is an emotion. This states a particular a feeling of like this, and the fact that this overreaction. Can you say Streisand effect? Like the
well,
fact
you know
that
what this is all about, eh? It's all about
it's
the
about a particular case.
yes.
Oh,
Well,
I
I
did
think
not know that.
so. Well, you've got the I forget the name of the group, and it's not like we can say it anyway, or we'll get banned or whatever. Knowing these guys, but there's a there was like a pro-Palestine group, and I forget their name,
Oh, is this where they were
but
arresting the pensioners or something?
yes. So the Palestine group, the pro-Palestine group, were designated a terrorist organization by the UK government. So next thing you know, you had a bunch of grandmothers getting rounded up because they were out protesting with them, and that drew a lot of heat. But then it was just a few days ago, I think, like maybe this past weekend or something. They had another rally, and they rounded up and arrested 900 protesters for just doing, or it was like 851 or something.
Oh,
Protesters were arrested just for holding up signs, right? And I think that's what this is about,
whoa! So imagine
because
if
the
that
person's got a
happened in
sign,
Russia.
right?
That's I don't think that happens in Russia. We would have been freaking all over that. No, that happens here. Uh, but yeah, dude, look at that is crazy. And for me, like I said, like it just captures a zeitgeist. It captures an emotion. It captures just like a feeling that look. Even I saw those pictures of those grandmas. So that's another part of the Streisand effect. What do you think you're going to squash the sentiment of the people? Like everybody knows what's going on in Palestine, right? You're not going to uh, make people unsee that or unthink that just by saying, go away, shut up, la, 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 right? Arrest him, take him away, and take her away and take away her walker too. Like you're not going to do anything. Like, look, I saw that. That made me go like, what the hell, right? If that's what
Well,
this was, Banksy apparently saw that. It made him go like, what the hell? And then
well,
you're
I think that must be his inspiration, because like the guy's got the sign up, and the judge is beating him down with the gavel, like it's
but
perfect.
your overreaction in the first place caused this to happen, and then your overreaction to this caused this to happen. Like now everybody knows about this. Now everybody sees this, and everybody says, "Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like." Like it feels like that's what they're doing to you guys over there, not just in the UK, right? Like it strikes a chord in a lot of people's emotions. That's what I'm saying. It's very emotional. I think.
Yeah, but UK, get your act together, for God's sakes. Like,
UK, get your act together. Israel, stop your bullshit. What is this bullshit? Like, man, come on. But yes, so let's try to touch upon Nepal. All right, so let me like look up let's see if I can find like a Western mainstream media. Let's try to find here. Let's see. Okay, BBC. All right. Nepal parliament set on fire after prime minister resigns over anti-corruption protests. Okay. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has resigned amid Nepal's worst unrest in decades as public anger mounts over the deaths of 19 anti-corruption protesters in clashes with police on Monday. On Tuesday, crowds set fire to parliament in the capital of Kathmandu, sending a thick black smoke billowing into the sky. Government buildings and the houses of political leaders were attacked around the country. 3 more deaths were reported on Tuesday. Amid the chaos, jail officials said 900 inmates managed to escape from 2 prisons in Nepal's western district. I read bigger numbers than that. So criminals being released. It says people are dying. They haven't mentioned it so far, but like parliamentary, like I think it was the wife of a parliamentarian that got beat to death, or was it the actual
The wife?
Jesus. Nepal's army chief issued a statement late on Tuesday accusing demonstrators of taking advantage of the current crisis by damaging, looting, and setting fire to public and private property. It said if unrest continued, all security institutions, including the Nepal army, are committed to taking control of the situation. Effective from 22, so what that would be 10 o'clock, right? 10 o'clock local time, without detailing what this might entail. While the prime minister has stepped down, it's not clear who will replace him or what happens next. So the prime minister himself has stepped down. This is crazy, man, what's happening. With seemingly no one in charge, some leaders, including ministers, have reportedly taken refuge with the security forces. So in Nepal, from what I understand, there's this whole thing with the army is not necessarily beholden to the civilian leadership. Something like that, just from the reading I've done about it today. So it's kind of like they could probably, and I think it's been a whole issue because Nepal, so there used to be a monarchy, and then like 20 years ago or something, they turned into like this, I guess,
I'm
like
not
a
buying
coalition
any of this,
communist
man.
government. Oh, and neither am I, but this is why we're reading the BBC version, because we really want to get the Western propaganda version. Some entered the building where all the windows have been smashed. Graffiti and anti-government messages had been spray painted on the exterior. Okay, Kathmandu resident Muna Shrestha, 20, was among the large crowd outside the parliament. Corruption has been a long-time issue, she told the BBC, adding that it is high time our nation or prime minister and anyone in power changes because we need change. Oh, corruption is an issue. That reminds me of a picture I saw just right now.
Go back. I think we had our answer there. Like I hadn't heard about this yet. I hadn't been following
I
it
gotta
today,
find
but
it now. Where is
I think we've got our answer of what's going on.
Nepal. Here we go. It's happened now, and we are more than happy to witness this and fight for this. I hope this change will bring something that is positive to us. They just said earlier that there's nobody in charge. Who's going to be the change? Like, what are you talking about? Miss Shrestha thinks taxes paid by working people need to be used in ways that will help the country grow. Last week, Nepal's government ordered authorities to block 26 social media platforms for not complying with a deadline to register. Yeah, so Nepal set out this deadline to register, from what I read, more than like 2 weeks ago, something like this. So this is like something, but even if it's a week, so last week this happened, and the protests are just breaking out now for not complying with a deadline to register. Why didn't those companies register? But okay, well, anyway, platforms such as Instagram and Facebook have millions of users in Nepal who rely on them for entertainment, news, and business, and also out at work and communication with their loved ones, especially overseas. The government justified its ban in the name of tackling fake news, hate speech, and online fraud, but young people criticize the move as an attack on free speech.
So this all has the makings of a good old fashioned color revolution to me, right? Like, you know, and the only question that I have now is it a color revolution, or is the army in on it, and is it just like an old fashioned army coup, right? But you know, that's what it looks like to me, and I'll tell you why. Number one, anytime they want to, you know, spur up any sort of, you know, controversy or whatever, it's always under the guise of corruption. Yet they never really, you know, define what that is, and it's always very vague. Even in this article, like, where's the evidence of any sort of corruption whatsoever?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's going to be government corruption, but there was government corruption 10 years ago.
Go back. The other thing that jumped out at me too, like, it talks about this woman who's 20 years old, and she's out, you know, protesting corruption. 20-year-old doesn't know fuck all about
Yeah,
corruption.
right.
Well, she's not
What
out
is she? What
protesting.
is she? The spokesperson of the new government that doesn't exist? Like, what is
This
this?
is
Come
what
on.
they do. They
And
go into
she might be.
they infiltrate these NGOs. They go in, they infiltrate um, various, they create various groups. They infiltrate existing groups, and they, for lack of a better word, they recruit up a mob of young idiots like this 20-year-old
Yeah, like
to,
Miss
to, to,
Shrestha.
and
You
then
want to
you
see your
wind
country
them
turned
up.
into Libya? Is that what you want? You want to see?
You wind them up with corruption, and this is why you don't have a job, and this is why you don't have a future, whatever it may be. And next thing you know, they get wound up pretty quickly when you need them. And when did they need them? Well, it just so happens when they enacted a law that was counter to a bunch of U.S. interests. So
Well, there's that, and well, also this law. See, they repealed it, which this article does talk about, but the protests haven't stopped. So if it's about that, then you guys got what you wanted. Like they repealed the thing, right? No, I mean they're probably
yeah,
using these social media
it,
sites now to ignite even further protests.
exactly. So this is just a color revolution. That's all it is. And number one, it helps out those U.S. interests that are mentioned in the article, their Facebooks and whatever. And number two, certainly helps to have an unstable country right smack dab in the middle of like India and China, right?
That's where I was
So
going exactly. So let's see. Here is a map. Would you look at that? Let's take a look. Where's
right,
Nepal located? Ah, I
right,
it's this interesting that is this interesting coincidence. I noticed that right. President Trump is throwing this fit, saying that hey, Russia, India, and China are all conspiring against the United States. Would you look at that? Uh, uh, the young people have suddenly noticed the corruption in Nepal. Suddenly it hit them. Something must
yeah,
be done about this corruption.
yeah.
And as the Nepal government was seeing this like mass growing, which does get talked about in this article, they were trying to go ahead.
Let me just put it this way. You know who protests corruption? Angry taxpayers like me. That's who protests corruption, not some 20-year-old, right? If you got a friggin' house and a mortgage and you're paying property taxes and income taxes, yeah, you got a lot of gripes about corruption, believe me. But no, nah, get out of here. This is just nonsense.
Yeah.
It's so obvious. If I'm President G, I'd be getting my people on a flight over to Nepal and talking to whoever actually runs that country and saying, okay, listen, whoever actually runs this country, this is how this is going to work. We got your back. You're getting whatever, food, what, blah, 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 blah. We'll help you out in whatever way we need to weather this. And that's what I'd be doing if I was China right now. Maybe
Uh,
there.
maybe they are. Yeah, who knows? And maybe if you're India as well. I think in the well, Indian press has had a lot to say about this. But anyway, young people criticize the move as an attack on free speech. Yeah, young people, the experts that run the nation, they're the ones that know exactly what needs to be done in the country in order to make a place a stable and successful, I don't know what, democracy. In the weeks before the ban, a Nepo Kid campaign spotlighting the lavish lifestyles of politicians' children and allegations of corruptions have taken off on social media. Oh, is that what happened? And then after you were trying to incite an upheaval and they shut down the social media sites, or maybe they were baited into doing it because the Nepalese, they tried to do this whole thing of register, right? Register if you want to be in our country, and what? Nobody registered, right? So they shut them down, and look what happened. So it's almost like on purpose, provocation. You might as well call it the unprovoked shutting down of Facebook in Nepal, the
Yep.
unprovoked shutting down of social media. Who could have thought? What a crime against free speech. Young people worldwide are upset. Thousands of young people first attempted to storm the parliament building on Monday. I love how they keep saying young people. Several districts were put under curfew. Most of the deaths occurred around Parliament and government buildings on that day. On Tuesday, protests continued unabated. A crowd in Kathmandu torched the headquarters of the Nepali Congress Party, which is part of the governing coalition, and in the house of its leader, Ser Bahadur, jeez, fuck, dude. Seher Bahadur Deuba, the house of KP Oli, 73-year-old, four-time prime minister who leads the Communist Party, was set on fire also. He said he had resigned to pave the way for constitutional solution to the current crisis. Reminds me of Maidan, right? Yanukovych was like, okay, fine, you guys win. We're going to have the elections. And what do they do anyway? They still try to kill him, still went to his house. I don't remember what they did to his house. But anyway, in view of the adverse situation in the country, I resigned effective today to facilitate the solution to the problem and help resolve it politically in accordance with the Constitution. They keep saying this in accordance with the Constitution thing. It's like they're in save the country mode.
Yeah, so the U.S. got what they
again,
wanted. They're going to put a puppet in, and that's it.
Again, exactly. This is the reason why. This is why, right here. This is not a coincidence, Yeah. But yeah, so what is going on in Nepal is and let's be honest, let's be fair, they did shoot themselves in the foot a little bit with this banning of social media, because of a lot. It's a country of young people, it's a nation of young people. The young people you're going to not give them something to do? No. They were busy on Facebook before. Their thumbs were flying. Now now Molotovs are flying. But yeah, I don't know. They've restored the access, and the protests are still going. So, I mean, that tells you that's really not about this, or there's some kind of vague corruption thing.
No, they activated their coup cell when it was necessary. That's it. That's all it is. Like all these protesters, how many of them were actually from Nepal? That'd be a good question to ask, right? Or any of the dead,
how many of them were paid $100 a day to do these protests, or whatever it was? Like, how many of these unemployed, now bored with nothing to do kids are, so here's what this is Military Watch magazine. Ukrainian front lines desperately understaffed as personnel crisis worsens. So this is what's being talked about now. This is our own understanding. This is Military Watch magazine. Amid continued Russian rising concerns in the Western world regarding the ability of the Ukrainian army to sustain its frontline positions in following months of continued advances by Russian forces, a growing body of reports from both sides of the war have highlighted that Ukraine's serious personnel shortages have left its frontline units increasingly critically undermanned. Political attention was recently drawn to the issue by Russian President Vladimir Putin, who stated on September 4th that combat-ready units in the Ukrainian army forces are staffed no more than 47 to 48%. He added that the army was holding its current positions by transferring brigades from one direction to another. This strongly corroborates reports from both Ukrainian and Western sources. Days prior, former chief of staff of the 12th Brigade of the Ukrainian National Guard, Bogdan Mol guy, lamented that the brigades on frontline were staffed at just 30% and were barely combat ready. So it's even worse, 30%, and we're barely combat ready. Yeah, man, I can see why we're in full throttle, try to negotiate mode. Speaking in late August, Korotovich observed that brigades on the front lines are operating at only 30% of their standard strength according to regulations. This was in August. They are genuinely incapable of sustained combat, yet they are repeatedly ordered to attack, regain tactical positions, hold ground. They can't even defend themselves effectively. He added that the forces of the Ukrainian government refers to reservists as units, refers to as reservists are units reassigned from one sector to another rather than fresh, fully equipped new units. Whoa. I got to reread that. They can't even defend themselves effectively. He added that the forces the Ukrainian government refers to as reserves are units reassigned from one sector to another rather than fresh, fully equipped new units. So what are they saying? Are they saying that when they say, oh, we have these reserves, They mean that we have the capacity to transfer this many people from one front to another front. That's their reserves.
They're just, they're thinning out the line in one area to go feed the other area. That's it.
Regarding the possibility of further mobilization addressing the issue, he added that even if hypothetically 100,000 servicemen were mobilized tomorrow, they would undergo a month-long basic training and then be thrown into the front lines. This would only temporarily alter the situation for a couple of weeks before everything reverts to its previous state. If you magically just conjured 100,000 conscripts and they had the training, it would only solve the problem for a couple of weeks. Korotovich previously in early August detailed an incredibly catastrophic situation facing Ukrainian forces in the disputed Donbass regions. Primary cause of Ukraine's severe personnel shortages have been tremendous casualties that the country's forces have sustained since the outbreak of full-scale hostilities with Russia in February 2022. Whoa, look where we have arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, look where we have arrived. This is what they are admitting to now. Leaked military files from Ukrainian's chief of staff in August confirmed that the Ukrainian armed forces had lost more than 1.7 million personnel, including both those killed and missing, including 118,500 personnel killed or missing in 2022, 405,400 in 2023. Okay, that many people, whatever, and 621,000 so far in 2025. Commenting on this information, Ukrainian member of parliament Artyom Mitruk reported that the list of the missing today contained more than 1 million people, and of course those people are most likely dead, while their families remain in complete ignorance. The situation is tragic. The situation is frightening. So, okay, we're getting multiple corroborations now on this over 1 million Ukrainian deaths. But I'm just going to say casualties. Like, it's hard for me to fathom over 1 million Ukrainian deaths. But I mean, at this point in time, if we're admitting to this, it's probably at least that bad. If probably that way worse. So this is Ukrainian sources and Russian sources saying that Ukrainian casualties are massive, are catastrophic. And it reminds me of that one analyst, Andrei Martian, analyst and author, who has his YouTube channel, Smoothie X12. He said that he'd been saying it for years at this point. He said that when it all is said and done and we look at the death toll of Ukraine, the figures will be catastrophic. They will be way bigger than what we had predicted. Like, because at that point in time, people were not predicting that there could ever be these kinds of casualties. And he's been saying this for years at this point. So that's crazy. This is what we're dealing with. So why is Ukraine missing the people on the front line? What is the reason? Because they are dead or maimed or gone. That's why they're missed. That's why there's people on the front lines. Why are they having a recruiting crisis? Because everybody knows you're going to go to the front line. You're going to get dead or maimed or captured. Captured would be nice. Maybe you can escape, whatever. So everybody can see this. So this is why Ukraine is having a recruiting crisis. So at this point in time, we must know it's suicidal, as we were talking about earlier. Russia is going to be producing thousands of missiles and thousands of drones this year alone. Those drones and missiles are going to be swarming and looking for those Ukrainian conscripts that are getting picked up off of those streets. We all see the videos. They are everywhere on Telegram, on Twitter. Why is Ukraine having a manpower problem? And you know what? This is also why Ukraine is having an equipment problem. The real reason why Ukraine is having an equipment problem is not because we didn't give Ukraine a shit ton of equipment. Our stockpiles are dry for a reason. We did give Ukraine a shit ton of equipment. The reason is because it's gone. It's been destroyed. That's why. That's the real reason. So us hiding, Gaza's still probably the war crime of the century, but like this comes close. This is almost as bad for us to send that many million Ukrainian lives when we know it's hopeless at this point. We can't make that many drones. Ukraine can't make that many drones. What was that news about the missile that was getting hit? The missile production that Ukraine was working on some kind of fake Taurus knockoff or something kind of missile production, and it got blown up before a single missile was even launched. So that also answers your question as to why Ukrainians don't have any missiles. And I also have an answer for why Ukrainians don't have any air defense. You want to know why? It's not because they didn't start the war with any air defense. It's not because we didn't send them a shit ton of Patriots. It's because they're gone. That's why. So we're looking at this the scale of this disaster as it becomes more and more widely known. This is going to probably cause some kind of like shock, I think, because it's causing me some kind of shock to see this.
We're actually living through, like, historians will be writing about this hundreds of years from now, the same way, we write about Napoleon, going into Russia, whatever, crap like that. They're going to be writing about this. This is the biggest strategic blunder the United States has ever made.
The biggest militarily, the biggest.
Prior to this mistake, that was probably like, okay, I wouldn't say Vietnam. It was peak America. Vietnam. No, I wouldn't say it was peak America, but, because it was declining before this war, but it certainly accelerated the decline ever since this war started.
Well, think about this.
Everything has gone to shit in the last 3.5 years because of this war. And they're going to be writing about this in hundreds of years' time, saying, this was the catalyst. This was the stir that stirred the drink and or whatever.
So what do we always hear about the American dollar? That it was propped up by debt, by oil, and because we have a big ass army, the best army in the world. Biden really, really believed that. Of course, we can take on Russia and China at the same time. We're America, right? So what happens when there's BRICS now? There's an alternative economic situation there. And then you know what? Americans don't look so big and bad anymore. They lost to the Russians. All of NATO lost to the Russians. They can do nothing but squawk and bark and complain that Russia is still bombing Ukraine. And Russia, and meanwhile, it can build 2,500 missiles, high-tech missiles this year alone. So at this point in time, there's just the feebleness of the G7, let's just say NATO as a whole is just laid bare. And I even heard Lieutenant Colonel Danny Davis, who has his own YouTube channel, the Daniel Davis Deep Dive, say that, and he participated in, one of America's one of their most successful battles, like Battle of 72 Easting in the first war of Iraq, the first Iraq War. And he was like, dude, if we were going to take on Russia and have a fight with them, we would lose.
Of course.
And he was like looking at the training and at the raw just numbers of stuff. Like, we didn't know how to fight war. We just didn't know. And it's just, it still takes me back to like General Wesley Clark laughing, saying, oh, the Russians have this idea of like the science of war. Science of war. Ridiculous, right? Well, I mean, I don't know, dude. It definitely looks like the Russians have some kind of methodical approach to an understanding of how to fight a war after years of fighting wars and years of paying with their blood. And that memory is still like World War II is something that I've heard my whole life growing up, people talking about World War II. It's like a huge deal to the Russians, though. And for Russians, the two biggest holidays are Victory Day and New Year's. Those are the two biggest ones. So it's a huge deal. And for the Russians who have gone through this and have this historic experience going back ages, right? Like fighting China with cannons, fighting Napoleon, not just like before that, I mean, right? Before the Patriotic War and the Great Patriotic War. So they did seem to have some kind of an understanding. And it's funny because like when we were trying to remember all this, we got to get rid of old Soviet thinking from Ukrainian army. The Ukrainian army is too full of old-fashioned Soviet doctrine. They don't know what to do. They don't know anything, right? We have to put young people in charge that have not even had contact with those old ways, because those old ways are complete crap. Okay, well, even the Ukrainians were like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. You guys don't know, like, you guys are training us to clear out rooms. That's just not what we're doing here. This is not what trench warfare in this century looks like. We should be the ones taking notes, as I've said before. So that's what's happening. All right, we're starting to kind of run low on time, but yeah, let me try to like touch upon some of the other ones I was looking at. Yeah, Colombian and U.S. contractors bolster Ukrainian front lines in Sumy and Kharkiv. So that's also this is yeah. Well, it's like they're at least saying it. Yeah, but they're saying it now. They're saying it openly. Before it was just like, you know, it was kind of like, well, there's people that follow their call of the heart, and I think that that if you read between the lines, it's like there was more official U.S. military involvement that they're trying to admit to. This was kind of interesting. Donetsk school named after Russian and American soldiers killed in Ukrainian conflict. So like a Russian and American soldier were working together in like a pair or something, and they both got killed trying in an assault. And the American soldier was actually, hold up, American fighter Michael Gloss, the son of CIA Deputy Director Julian Galina, both served in 331st Guards Airborne Regiment. The two men were posthumously awarded the Order of Courage, Russian state honor. And then when Witkoff visited Putin, Putin handed him the award so he could pass it off to. But yeah, Galina. Yeah, so it's cool. They named a Russian school after that. I feel like that's kind of interesting, like that they're trying to keep that story. Kind of, I wonder what's up. Yeah, I don't know if you guys seen this. Man faces federal charge in New York and the fatal stabbing of Ukrainian refugee in Charlotte train. Dude, the video just doesn't even make sense. This chick is just sitting there on her phone, and this dude just like, he's like looking around. He's like kind of nervous, and he looks like, honestly, it looked to me like he knew what he was gonna do, and he didn't want to do it. Like he's just like this. Oh man. Or maybe he was like sick or high. I don't know.
No, he's definitely got mental problems for sure. So
or mental problems, yeah.
Like so, no, definitely, like
because he'd been in prison before, so for crazy shit. And his mom even said that. His mom was like, "How is this guy out of jail?"
I'd be shocked if he didn't have like schizophrenia or something like that. Like there was definitely something, not all there in his head. And I'm not a shrink or anything, but he definitely needs to go see a shrink. Let's just put it that way.
Brown has a lengthy criminal history, including convictions for armed robbery, felony larceny, breaking and entering. Family members told CNN he had a history of mental health struggles. Chuck, Nunya, Jesus, man, you are a genius. See, this is why.
Well, no, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that you shouldn't stab a girl to death.
Well, yeah. It doesn't mean that he had something going on, but it's enough for even CNN to like make it mention. So it's probably a significant factor, and it obviously is, right? Brown spent more than 5 years behind bars for robbery with a dangerous weapon. State records show North Carolina state records list 14 cases for Brown. Other than those related to the killing, they date back to 2011, include arrests for minor offenses like speeding and shoplifting. It isn't clear how many of them were prosecuted. Yeah, dude. So I mean, this is crazy. It's a sad story, very, very tragic. Girl escapes war zone just to get stabbed to death. Founder of California-based porn empire, sentenced to 27 years in federal prison. I mean, so I guess some guy that had a website called what was it? Girls Do Porn or something. Was caught coercing people to do sex. Dude, it seems to me like, you know what, the whole industry, the whole porn industry is like really dirty, and there's a lot of coercion and drugs and crazy stuff going on there, and it's like a dirty deed, right? This is one that we probably don't have time to talk about anymore. So France's prime minister ousted as the nation drifts into turmoil. Yeah, like Macron. So yeah, prime minister is out. Macron is looking like he's not standing on shaky ground. He might not. I think he wants to make it to the end of his term.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be allowed to. Like, you talk about Macron. I kind of wonder if he doesn't want to get the hell out of there, to be honest, because nothing's going right for him. his wife is being getting a
Physically
lot of attention.
abusive.
Well, that too, but guys, if you haven't watched Becoming Brigitte, Candace Owens series, go watch it. It is wonderful. It's really good. Go watch it. And no, so Emmanuel's not having a good time these days. Not with getting beaten up by his wife and all these allegations about like what a massive slong she has, and
Jesus Christ.
plus his government is kicking him out and they don't want him around, and he's bankrupt now, and
Everybody
everyone
hates
in
him.
Africa, yeah, they all hate him.
He screwed everything up.
Everything. He did not do one good thing in his tenure. Wow.
Dude, how did that? Dude, Macron was like worse than Liz Truss. Macron was like, was he worse than Boris Johnson? He was probably on the level of Boris Johnson. Maybe worse.
Who knows? But I don't know. I think Emmanuel, some time apart from his wife, might be a good thing. So, but yeah, watch Becoming Brigitte. It's hilarious.
Okay, this is
pleasure.
Crazy. Look at this crap, dude. Look at what we're saying. Concerns have continued to mount in the Western world regarding the strengthening of the strategic partnership between Russia, China, and North Korea, with the construction of the large Power of Siberia 2 pipeline intended to provide for 15% of China's energy needs using Russian gas. Further exacerbating this, the Western Bloc states have long sought to retain leverage over Russia and China through the former's reliance on revenues from energy exports to Europe and the latter's reliance on energy imports through waters dominated by Western navies. The challenge to Western geopolitical interests from the new pipeline, which will seriously reduce Western leverage over both states, has gained renewed attention in the aftermath of Russian President Vladimir Putin's visit to China and meetings with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. Calls have since surfaced in the Western world to organize an attack on the Power of Siberia 2 pipeline. I like how they're phrasing this. In the Western world. Nunya, like out here where we're living, haven't you heard these calls that have been surfacing? Bomb, Power of Siberia 2, bomb.
Yeah.
I've been hearing them too, Maybe what's his face? Maybe Homeboy over there. He was hearing those too, and he was like, "Fuck! What do I have to do? Please take me to a mental institution. Make it stop." That's why
these
are all
these are all actions.
It's
of
you guys,
empire.
Ukrainians. You were responsible for the voices in my head. Maybe it will stop.
But yes, these are all just actions of a desperate empire. End of story, right? Like. Even blowing up Nord Stream, that was a desperate act. This, all of these things,
this is just,
they can't rig the game anymore. That's it. They can't rig the game anymore, and they don't know how to play cards straight. That's it.
So yeah, dude. So even, I love this. Prominent Fox News host Jesse Waters recently suggested that the Power of Siberia to be destroyed, much as the Nord Stream pipeline that brought Russian gas to Europe was previously was. Someone could blow up the pipeline, he suggested, stressing its vital importance to Russia's economic resilience in the face of Western sanctions and independence from Europe. Well, I mean, I don't know. Didn't they just allegedly arrest the dude that did the bombing? So let him free to unleash him on Power of Siberia 2. So anyway, Putin's putting down a big old pipeline to China. It's supposed to be finished next decade and supply 50% of China's energy. Russia and China are growing closer. Someone might have to bomb that, like that pipeline. Bomb that pipeline like Nord Stream, he told the viewers. These statements reflect broader sentiments across the Western world at a time when the United States and countries across Europe have forces deployed to actively participate in hostilities against Russian forces in Ukraine. Look at this thing. The United States and countries across Europe have forces deployed to actively participate in hostilities. The things that we're saying openly now. As you can see, I had like 5 different articles from Military Watch magazine. I was like, damn, dude, where have we arrived? This is like an alternate universe. Like, am I alive? Like, is this real life? Am I awake?
Yeah, but they realize that the whole values argument and democracy and all that horseshit, they
It's falling
realize
flat.
that's it's flattered in a plate full of piss. So they need a different tactic, and the tactic is, oh, we got to tug on your purse strings, right? So the reason why inflation is so high is these damn Russians or these damn whatever. So if only we could get at those resources, maybe then your price of oil will come down and you'll have more jingle in your pocket. You see what
Putin
I'm saying?
tax.
So yeah, like you'll hear all that stuff come back but again, nobody will buy that either because people aren't that stupid either. So it's the same old playbook that they've been playing for decades, and they haven't figured out that people are smarter than they were, 50 years ago. Like they're not going to buy this propaganda anymore. They're not going to buy this horse shit because they can just go in the Wayback Machine and figure out the truth, and they can figure out the patterns that have been done before and how they ended up screwing up before. So it's kind of like,
I don't know, man. I think that there's a lot of people that still live in La La Land, but yeah, you're definitely right that more and more people, as they get squeezed,
no doubt they do. Like, no doubt there's still a lot of ignorant people out there, but they're becoming fewer and fewer. Like, as the boomers die off, and they're a big problem, no doubt. As the boomers die off, and then the Gen Xers, like, if you haven't figured this stuff out by now, if you're a Gen Xer like me, and you haven't figured out this shit out now, there's no hope for you whatsoever. So it's just as well you die off with the boomers, right?
Yeah, you're an honorary boomer.
Yeah. Millennials, no hope for you, crowd, because you were all born retarded and you were programmed retarded, and there's just no hope. Like, you're the outlier, and like, you are few and far between. It's just a retard generation. I'm sorry. And then the Z's and whatever, the alphas, betas, gammas, whatever they're called these days, they'll all be, more normal growing up, or at least that's my hope.
Well, one thing that I've noticed is that a lot of millennials, right, that have kids, that Gen Zers, right, already, and then whatever's younger, like, if you can see that those kids, it's almost like, have you ever heard that phrase? Kids don't listen; they watch and learn. So yeah. It's almost like sorry, what were we just talking about? I got to get the wrong story off of the thing. All right, I keep looking at it and wanting to talk about it. What were we just talking about?
Well, just how kids like learn and whatever, and how the different generations.
So here's the thing. Oh yeah, right. I remember now. So here's the thing. I feel like the Generation Z and younger, they've learned by looking at their tired ass parents who are overworked, underpaid, renting, having two jobs, Ubering on the side, right? And they are learning that's not what I want. And that old thing where it's like, I remember when I was growing up, you got to show up to work on time. You were an employee. You must take pride in your work, and it doesn't even matter if you're working some kind of minimum wage job, right? Millennials, they have that attitude still, but Gen Z already, they have this attitude of like, I don't know, what have you done for me lately? Like, I drive by and I look at like McDonald's now hiring placards. It's like $18 an hour, a free meal on shift. If it's a full-time shift, you get 2 free meals on shift. Paid vacation. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is McDonald's. You get paid vacation. You get what is happening, right? They're begging these kids to come and work for them. And you know what happens? This is just from my experience, what I've seen. Kids wanted to save up for like a PlayStation 4, got a job, saved up, got the PlayStation 4, just didn't show up anymore. He doesn't need the job. You guys are here for me. I don't give a fuck. I don't owe you anything, right? So they definitely have a little bit of that attitude of like, so maybe that's part of what it is. It's like they can see that what bullshit it was, like what bullshit buying into the system really turned out to be. So maybe, I don't know.
Could be, yeah.
But yeah, dude, so we are saying, hey, why are we bombing Russia and Chinese pipelines? What's going on here? Somebody should do this. Like, this is what we're saying openly. Jeez, man.
Well, it's just like I said, it's just talk of a desperate empire, and they don't know what else to do. But the thing about it is, it's not going to change anything. The pipeline will still get built, the gas will still flow. They can try to bomb it. Even if they successfully bomb it, they'll just come
Russia
in,
and
patch it
China will
over.
grow together. BRICS will grow.
Exactly. Like, it's
The
like
ship has sailed. The
desperation.
ship has
Yeah.
sailed on the whole Russia China thing like that.
Yeah. It's done.
So, I mean, I
So
got a lot more stories, but I think we should probably do the 2 scoops because it's already like 5 minutes out. I mean, I have like stories
cool.
about the cartel fucking stuff up. So did you want to do the 2 scoops or we're going to do mine?
Do yours.
All right. So here's what I have for my 2 scoops of crazy. So what we were just reading, right, about the calls to bomb Russian infrastructure. And the article touched upon efforts to bomb the Crimean Bridge. Now, I would love to show you guys this new video game that just came out. You won't believe this shit. Bridge Hunter, a game about combat UAVs and the Crimean Bridge. Another project has appeared on Steam about combat UAVs that destroy Russian invaders. This time, right on the bridge over the Kerch Strait. Apparently, Bridge Hunter is a Ukrainian game. Although there is no direct confirmation of this at the moment. The Telegram channel Dirty Wall drew attention to this project. In Bridge Hunter, you have to control a drone that can carry both regular VOGs and pickled vegetables, a suitcase with unknown toxic content, or a shark capable of dehumanizing. In addition, it is possible to target the bridge with artillery or even nuclear strike or laser from the satellites. Dude, it's like, you know what this reminds me of? When I was on Twitter with in like 2022 or early 2022, constantly seeing this like AI generated artwork of like, the Kremlin being nuked, the Kremlin burning, right? It's like, well, what's up with this like crazy like fantasy? Like, you guys are like, this is like something's fucked up with you. You can operate in groups of up to 5 drones, switching between them to confuse the enemy and mislead Russian air defenses. So basically, they have a bridge bombing simulator here. Let me see if I can find Bridge Hunter trailer. Here we go.
Well, it's good way to get recruits.
Yeah, right. This is actually what this is.
Seems like an awfully boring game, though. I got to tell you, like.
Well, okay, you know what? I'm going to be honest. The entire physics simulation thing, if it's a really good physics simulator, I could see that being fun. But I mean, what's fucked up is like, what is this? What are you doing? Like, this is your entertainment. We were talking about how we're using propaganda, right, to such as film and video games to change like to mold society, right? Well, what is this, right? This is like normalizing bombing civilian infrastructure. I'll remind you, the Crimean Bridge isn't used to transport Russian military equipment. It's used by civilians. So yeah, what this to me is some kind of like crazy, like massive like Russophobia, paranoia, like crap, right? Like you can see that like they're trying to I don't know, like, is this like a defiance or what? But like, this is what they're dreaming of. This is the wet dream. Somebody's like, I have a vision for at least I can destroy this bridge virtually in a video game.
Well, I think it's just as simple as it could be just a way to get Ukrainian kids to hate Russians, and also like literally as a recruiting tool, right? Like if you're good at it and you're skilled at it, and you play it online or whatever, and you prove yourself that you're very good or whatever, it's not hard to get recruited and to get you signing up to be a drone operator, right? So, and there's a history of that too. Like, was it Call of Duty or Medal of Honor? One of those 2 games, they were funded by the army or something, weren't they? Or partially? I believe that it had some sort of involvement with it, from what I remember. And this goes back 20 odd years, but I think video games have always been used for that, right? To glorify the war and, get young men in particular used to
The
I
violence
guess,
and the
the violence and the act of killing, and you learn
get them
stealth,
excited about
whatever.
them,
You got to get
normalize it.
excited, yeah, normalize, yeah, you got it. So yeah, I that's what I see from this.
Yeah, dude. So I mean, what I'm saying is that like this is think about what if the Russians release a video game? Like I feel like that video game would be taken down in seconds of let's say um uh, a Russian cruise missile simulator where you can bomb Kiev, right? What do you think would happen? I feel like it would not be getting this positive attention. This is not even in the news. This is just like I just happened to stumble upon it. I'm like, what? How is this not in the news?
Well,
This
it's
is
probably just it's a non-factor, because I mean I'm guessing it's not selling many, because
I mean, I think it's pretty new.
what teenage Ukrainian boy, if you're a teenage Ukrainian boy and you're still in Ukraine at this point, you're probably not that bright. So
So actually, you might be into this game, you know?
yeah,
Maybe.
maybe. But the audience for it is so small, it doesn't really matter.
No, dude. I think that what
Uh,
it's showing, I think what it just shows the normalization of like it's okay to like in this age of acceptance and like tolerance and all this stuff, we have to tolerate everybody, all walks of life. But it's okay to be not tolerant of Russians. It's okay to
sure,
target Russian civilian infrastructure
sure.
in virtually in video games. Like here is a little simulator you can train, for bombing the bridge. I bet probably it was like some kind of internal simulation project where they're like, this would be actually a fun video game. And
Well,
like
yeah,
so
I've been through so many iterations of hate at this, who we're supposed to hate at this point. It kind of numbs me out, and you kind of figure out that the best way is hating nobody, and then you'll be okay. But I've been through hating the Russians, and then it was the Iraqis, and then it was who was it after the Iraqis?
you've
The
fallen
terrorists,
for it. You've fallen for
and
it in the
then
past, and then
yeah,
you basically grew out of that kind of mindset, going like, "Oh, duh, I see what's happening." See, this
they,
is why people like you can read through a news story and see like pick out the particular minutia to actually understand what's
sure,
happening.
sure,
Because, but yeah, dude. So I thought that this was a massive two scoops of crazy. This is nuts. This is like this should be unacceptable. I feel like, but I mean, you're right in the greater context of video games just already being used to normalize and justify and make fun of and make light of death and violence.
right.
It is kind of quaint. This is not the worst that there is. This is just maybe indicative of more of that desperation where it's like you couldn't
Yeah,
bomb the
but
bridge in real life, so you just did it in virtually.
right, but it's nothing really new. Like, we've all been doing this for decades, right? If not hundreds of years. Like, that's what you do, is you glorify the war, and you ingrain the hatred of the quote enemy, right? I just go back to, I think the world, because of the internet and everything, and people's access to information, and information from everywhere, I think that this playbook is just so stale, and that's why nobody, particularly the kids, anybody under 30, nobody supports Israel in this conflict, right?
Yeah.
Because they're all smart enough to be able to
What
find
the
information on
Israelis
their
have
own.
lost the
Right.
youth. Yeah.
So I think that you know there's still a lot of idiots out there, but I'm hopeful that we kind of age out of it. Or I could be wrong, but I just, like I said, the boomers, yeah, once they die off, and whoever in my cohort is too stupid, they got to go too. And then you guys, I'm sorry, we're going to have to get some sort of intervention going on for the millennials,
Yeah.
because we just got to deprogram and unretard all of you,
massive swaths of the millennial population.
Because you were all taught so much garbage from the start. Like you didn't. It's not your fault, right? You were brought up with just stupidity drilled into your head from the time you were born, because that was just the era, for a good chunk of it, your formative years. So yeah, it's no doubt you're all fucked up. So yeah, we got to deprogram you, and then hopefully the kids under you will figure that out, because I'm not doing it. Fuck you all. Like I just want to retire and go off and live in the woods somewhere. That's where I'm at.
Yep. So really quickly before calling it a wrap, Putin warning that coalition of the willing peacekeepers in Ukraine are legitimate targets, as we have France and the United States that have troops all lined up to help in their intervention in Ukraine. Like we read earlier, Putin's like, come on, we're going to bomb you. We're going to demilitarize you as well. So I would say that is going to be our 28th episode of Hell in a Handbasket. So I thank you very much, everybody, for joining. And I guess we'll see y'all next week, if not on open mic.
Cheers.
Peace. Oh, that's right. I have to press end recording first.